Good evening, everyone. My name is Lilly Milman, and I am the host of the Readings from the Room, sponsored by the Writers' Room of Boston. I'm an essayist based in Boston and a member of the room, and I'm delighted that you could join us this evening. For anyone new to us, the Writers' Room of Boston is a co-working space in downtown Boston for writers who want a quiet place to work. The room is open 24 hours a day and provides desks as well as the companionship of other writers. We regularly host virtual and in-person events like this one, as well as feedback and writing groups. Some are open to the public, like this, and some are members only. We have been serving writers of the greater Boston area since 1993, and no serious writer has ever been turned away because of an inability to pay dues. If you'd like to learn more, please check our website, www.writersroomofboston.org, for a first full schedule of events as well as more information about membership. I will also, for your reference, drop that link in the chat. So it's www.writersroomofboston.org. This series is made possible by grants from Mass Cultural Council and Boston Cultural Council, and we also rely on donations from friends. If you enjoy this program, please consider making a contribution using the donate button on our website. Today, we will hear readings from Ida Bakhtiary-Rahimi, a queer Iranian American poet and arts administrator, as well as Vasantha Sambamurti, who actually a poet based in Boston who I actually went to undergrad with. So I'm very excited to hear her work. As we go along this evening, feel free to use the question and answer feature in the box at the bottom of the screen where you can type in your questions. We will save some time for discussion at the end. So without further ado, our first reader is Ida Bakhtiary-Rahimi. Ida Bakhtiary-Rahimi is a queer Iranian American poet and arts administrator. Ida currently works and studies in the English department at Tufts University, though they have a wide range of experience across cultural institutions and organizations, from small press publishing to creative youth development. A Pushcart Prize nominee, their work has been supported by the City of Boston's Mayor's Poetry Program, the Somerville Arts Council, and can be found online in Discount Guillotine. Ida holds a BA in English from Boston University. So welcome on, Ida.
Hello. Thank you so much, Lily, for the introduction and for the Writers' Room of Boston for having me, and also for Vasantha for inviting me to read with her, and also for everyone who was able to make it out tonight. Um, the first poem I'm going to read is called The Only Way Out is Through. I had a godless childhood, still do. To hear that even the stars are dead was enough to prove how lonely it feels. You, a random point pulsing through the timeline of infinite grief, all of us, scattered. They say that we're all made of stardust, but leave out the explosions, the matter that was destroyed under these laws of physics and still no clue how to make a life. I don't want your money. Let's just care for each other, said no doctor, lawyer, politician, consultant, president, monarch, dictator, colonizer, cop ever. When I told my friends I wanted to be an artist, they said, "Why don't you want to get married?" And I said, "My parents had to escape death to find each other, and even that wasn't enough of a reason to call this living." And they said, "Lol, but you would have such cute little brown babe." And I've been running through space-time ever since. Ah, the next poem I'm going to be reading is called If You Don't Pick Up the Pen, They'll Still Be Holding Their Swords. I went 6 for 6 on the Poets versus AI quiz, but it's not the robots I'm afraid of, whose parts they did not assemble for themselves at gunpoint, whose luminous pixels encaged in cold shells would, like me, prefer not to be given a body. Still, it takes more time for me to send a goodnight text than it does for them to obliterate entire cities. I should really just give you a call while we're still here. My father tells me that when he was my age, he wrote the pamphlets and wired the bombs, went to class reciting essays from blank papers for a classroom who calls him by a now discarded name. You can't forget where life starts. I'm trying not to forget. I'm trying to remember that what I never had is still mine to carry. When the bookstore owner tells me that she would kill for me, seriously kill for me, I know she means for us, for the children of an unknown present. If it means there will be more books tomorrow, isn't that one way to look at it? Um, this next poem is called What Could Have Been Is Still Not Yet. Um, and it's about the solidarity camps for Palestine, specifically at Emerson Campman, Emerson College, and the uh, police raid that happened afterwards. So it's called What Could Have Been Is Still Not Yet. I don't know. Sometimes I just want to leave the kettle squealing. On the train, listening to the white noise of abject men, the operator opens the doors, and I see two of the cops from the night of the encampment raid, except now their vests say transit police, which is alarming. I'm starting to doubt if they were there, but they're wearing those bulletproof vests and frankly jacked. Now I'm remembering how weak I felt when I couldn't hold on to all of the bodies at once. When limbs are ripped away from you, head smashed and bloodied into jagged brick, you have to stay focused. No, I swear they were there. After all, there were hundreds, and I can't look away from these two and their smug fucking cop faces drinking coffee at 6 p.m., talking about how slow it is today, or something, or nothing. Their vascular arms crossed over thick Kevlar, noticing the bend of their elbows, how I saw them wind up and release without hesitation when it could have been bullets, how many times it's been bullets. But it's clear that they don't see me. They don't like to look you in the eyes for long. And now we yield into the tunnel. What a privilege to leave, not to be left or taken, and the tea going cold. Uh, This next poem is called Black Cat GF and Golden Retriever BF Breakup. Headed to the Brooklyn Smorgasburg, past the converted Domino Sugar Factory, paused on the railing along the waterfront, pulled out Instagram, saw the plate of tomato, pepper, and onion that Gazans must now call a feast. I'm not a revolutionary. I'm here to break up with my white boyfriend, finally explore my queerness, rule my very own time. But he's out doing community service, and the blonde hair, blue eyes who took my order looked at my empty stomach, then I fucked me full for the second time that morning. When he went out of his way to place the meal in my hands, only then did I realize that a Williamsburg po' boy is just another overpriced bodega sandwich, but no Yemeni man to salute with a free Palestine and a genuine wish to take care. I swear I don't enjoy being objectified, not that much at least. I remember when I got ready to leave the apartment in May 2021, unsure of what to shade and what to conceal, still straightened my hair and wore a little black dress to go to the used bookstore and the park on the hill to admire my bounty. That's when his dog ran up to me and he followed, said he's relentless with his affection, the dog. When I returned to the park, this time with said boyfriend, I saw that him and his dog were at it again. Of course, we talked about gender and my experiences, but you don't DEI a relationship. And here I was, uncurled from my grief to give him the reading list and all my radical empathy, reward him with gold stars and prostate stimulation for being a good boy. I have a few poems left. It's quite strange reading on the webinar format. I can't see the audience, but Thanks again for being here. Uh, this next poem is called Necromancing the Commons. At the local cemetery, nobody is my dead, and everybody is my dead. There are hundreds of thousands of square feet of grass and many species of trees, well kept by landscapers and labeled just like the bodies lined up beneath me. Names like Fagus sylvatica, Acer rubrum, Quercus alba, etc., etc. I don't have to go looking to know my family name is nowhere to be found. It's not like I ever went to Grandma's house nor her funeral, never visited a homeland, nor held conversations in her daughter's tongue. So, when I visit my local cemetery, I pretend that one of these plots is ours and get to mourn like everyone else. I redistribute flowers from the other graves. I make a headrest of headstones. I piss in plein air, remind the living how we too are rancid. I line dance down the aisles when the spirits move me, plucking out every little American flag to build a pyre. No, you can't just stick something in a breathing body. Yes, I pay tribute to my dead, and by the time the cops come to break up the party, I've already raised the living. I've already raised the dead. All right, two more poems, and then Vasantha will come on. Uh, this second to last poem is called Brown Jouissance. I could watch the presidential debate, or I could get laid. See, I can be soft and sharp like a seared tongue on the edge of your teeth. Like you, I keel at the sight of cute things, peer out from the casket of my desires. This wanting has to go somewhere, and I could never hold it in my mouth long enough. See, I came of age with a nostalgia so primal. I yearned for a place that no longer existed. Like you, I thought I wanted to die. Walked in the middle of the street at night. This wanting has to go somewhere, and I could never hold it in my mouth long enough. See, we were never asked for what we wanted, tucked it between oblivion and tomorrow. Like you, I wake up in this violent country. This wanting has somewhere to go, and I could go on, but I'll stop. Okay, last poem from me. This poem is called The Shortest Night of the Year. And there are a couple Persian references in here. One, the Farsi word for dear, my dear, which is azizam, and also a reference to a short story that I read in the translated form called The Little Blackfish by Sambamurti. Um, and the text specifically that I was reading from, that I was in some ways channeling when I wrote this, is a copy of my dad's from when he was in Canada. And this specific version was translated by the Iranian Students Association, which was a group of people from Iran who came to the US, and out the Iranian diaspora, not just the US. And so they had a more militant translation of this text. But yes, shortest night of the year. Azizam, you are always with us as we are with you. Nobody's life is free, just as nobody's life is without love. When the time came, we ran, but we never wanted to leave. Never forget those who stayed. Never forget where your fruit comes from, why your hair blows in the wind and you wake in the morning. What will you do now with your ravenous heart and furrowed brows? Night came, and all you can think about is the sea. What are you waiting for? Nobody's life is free, just as nobody's life is without love. Hurry, the sun is coming. Will you be ready to fight? Azizam. We are always with you as you are with us. Azizam. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ida. I know it can be tricky to read to yourself, but I promise we're all here and you did a great job. So our next reader is Vasantha Sambamurti. Vasantha is a writer, editor, translator, and PhD student in English at Tufts University. Her research interests include 20th and 21st century global Anglophone and Francophone literatures and cinema, translation theory, comparative ethnic literatures, and contemporary poetics. She is the senior editor for Transition magazine, founded in Uganda in 1961 by Rajat Naoji, now based at Harvard University's Hutchins Center for African and African American Research. Her poetry manuscript, For the Blood of Me, was a finalist for the 2026 Trio Award for first or second book of poetry. A Pushcart Prize and Best of the Net nominee, her poetry, prose, and literary translations from French are forthcoming from or featured in Harvard Review, The Commuter by Electric Literature, Waxwing, Northwest Review, Portland Review, Exchanges, a Journal of Literary Translation, and elsewhere. So without further ado, we'd love to have you on, Vasantha.
Um, Thank you so much, Lily, again for organizing this, for inviting me, and thank you, Ida, for your beautiful poems. It's such a joy to actually hear you read these and just sit back and listen and just kind of be in awe of how much work went into them. So I'm really excited to join tonight and share some of my work as well. Some of the pieces I'll be sharing are from my poetry manuscript for The Blood of Me, and as a whole, I describe the collection as a history of my body, which also develops a dialogue with predecessors I know both intimately and barely at all. One is my late grandmother, Vasantha, the namesake I never met, and the other is my mother, who is also an excellent poet, and her name is Mira Parshaman. So without further ado, I will begin. Vasantha, spring. Say namesake is never enough. Say it does not speak my breath into the bright of her mind. Nomenclature made my mother a poet and her mother gold, made me, baby, a memorial for a woman I did not know. Vasantha, our name, is a bright season neither of us were born in, a question of dual attribution, language barely spoken. In my shallows, I imagine her thoughts, their surface, down soft, pales brilliance, runs shallower than my palm's third line, speaks the brevity of her life, and perhaps mine. This next piece is called I Inspire Song in White Women, and it was written while I was at Emerson with Lily. I inspire song in white women. Unblinking, they sing at me. Doll, pet, knit this child a store-bought dress. Daily, I dream of scooping her up, skin sherbet smooth, store her in the fridge for that melted edge. She'll run, then you'll notice, a little underfed. I've seen the way her sisters live in the National Geographic spread, brown sweet like piglets. Unpimpled almond complexion, ground cinnamon, you remind me of my next missionary trip. I cross your earth, hot as sin. I meet your mythic children, sometimes crude, serpent tongue sharp, shitting their pants like they want to hurt me. I ask why you burn the ones who give nothing but love. I pinch myself and realize I'm flesh. I worry for white children within their white picket fence. In my country, I believe you can be what you should be, and if you believe you will be, good brown, bark brown cough syrup that gums the mouth shut, soft feed for the babies, a beaten egg. You go down easy, maybe they will learn something. Your baby marvels at my name. Some days she likes it, some days she doesn't. You tell her when. When I play with your daughters, I eat salt and sand. You chastise them, play nice. They will grow up to inherit your love for me. You, small as a cumin seed, I cry when you cry. I gift you my love and hope it's enough. Sometimes you hold me and it's tender. Once you pressed me to your chest. I remember being frightened by the breath of your milk-white breasts. This was a wide love. I thought surely I would drown. Sometimes you read, you teach me songs to help with sleep. Note by note, sweetly you sing. The brown cradled baby beckons to me. Oh, baby, I am your emissary. and you are mine only. This next piece is Little Critters. It's about me having lice as a child. Amma stills me on a black stool, the seat of barbershop wonder. No wonder. She draws out the lice comb, clucks her tongue. She says it's because me and my best friend Dee bump heads at school too much. Little critters, the same down to the texture of our hair, stern, tire black, thick like rubber. We squish together, straining the candied library carpet through our fingers, a book closed before us. Amma yanks and shushes my hair like an infant. I scream, Amma, talamuri irikirdu. Amma, balikirdu. It hurts. I imagine Didi's Amma also pulling a mean comb through her hair after we play, after we trumpet a raspberry at her mean brother who twists our fingers between swing chains, claiming it helps us rise. We scream and Didi spits furious Spanish at him. I furrow my brow and pretend to feel profound offense when he spits back, yearning to understand what it means to feel held in their mess. The lice comb sings its own doomed verse. Shirk, shirk, shirk. The sure music of snakes and grass. Shirk, shirk. Appa comes home and ruffles my hair. Little critters, he says, pointing as one runs across my shoulder. Not enough hair for that, he says, kneeling down to show the shiny bald top of his penny bronze head. I drum my hand on his bald head as the comb's slender teeth run through me like fear or pee, catching against the dull husk of lice, the thick spidered knots. I remember Miss Debbie reading us a scary story, Dee and me not listening, about a white-fingered witch who stalks through villages to steal children, cackling hee-hee. But we're the ones witch cackling hee-hee, picking at candy crumbs with our small brown fingers, laughing so close to one another we could smell our Reese's Pieces breath. Dee and me are so close in shade, people ask if we're sisters, if we're from here, if we speak English. I wish we were sisters. I wish Dee were here with Amma, Appa, and me, hunched in front of the mirror on a hunt for eggs. Amma picks one out, translucent, pearly. She fixes it between her firmest fingernails, mortar and pestle, and presses. It cracks like a nut. There, she says. That's how you know the lice were there, and now they're dead. I imagine whole families curled inside, mother and father yolks, and lonely seed siblings. I wonder if they feel the nail and wept, or if they just gave out a little creak while dying. Did Dee imagine these things? Amma taps out the comb on the sink, tick tick, a small rain of lice. She turns on the tub faucet for my final rinse. Bringing the water, my breeding bush of hair, I cry for Dee, for our wonder, root deep, mourning what leaves, the hair parting. This next piece is questions for my white therapist. Yes, I'm sure you were wild as a teenager, Linda, much more than my parents, Indians, all about their tradition. Tell me about your private school, Linda. Did you have a uniform, plaid dress, white shirt, knee socks? Did you wear a black skirt? Did the bad girls duck under the stairwell to hitch their skirts up higher? Did they get busted or were they too rich? Did you do this? You tell me how you loved smoking cigarettes in the car with your friends. Were they bad girls too? Were they all white with rhyming names? Did you have an ethnic friend? You listened to me lament about being the ethnic friend. Tell me you knew some Indian girls in school, but you never thought they had much to lament. Their skin so tan, hair so long and black. You admit you were jealous. Did you at least spare them a cigarette? I doubt it, since you're not doing much in the way of sparing me. I count the time, my copay ticks. Did you invite the Indian girls on drives out? Scratch that. Did you and your friends all drive around together with the car top down, the new Madonna loud? Did you hitch your skirts up to the seatbelt and flick out your cigarette butts? Did you squeal when they burst against the windows of passing cars lost to highway wind? I admit, I get a strange pleasure hearing you describe your teen years as something you miss, while I scrub away the minutes remaining in mine. You remind me to breathe. You tell me some people like smoking because it makes them realize they're breathing. I breathe. I make a joke so you stop looking at me like the kind of stray dog you'd sell your car for, consider taking to the shelter. Ultimately, you wouldn't. You'd forget it, drive on, congratulating yourself for the original impulse. What a blast you must have had, Linda. I smile, take a sip of my water. Sounds like a John Hughes movie. Ah, yes, you laugh, smiling. We were so free then. But tell me, Linda, were you really? Was the ease really so freeing? Or did the ease of getting anything you wanted stir a sick yearning to feel something? I imagine drunken nights with your friends, burning cigarette circles into each other's skin. I imagine you laughing crazy because you didn't know whether to feel bad. I imagine you thinking about it years later, how broken those people must have been, everything they didn't need but had. Did you have fun when you did that? Did you like each other hurting? Is pain a way to share something with people that you want to like but can't? Were these the best times you had? I wonder if your friends are in therapy now. Do they feel seen by someone like you? Are you still friends? Is there anything you regret? Tell me what it was like, Linda. I want to imagine. So this next piece is for the blood of me. The month wanes. Soon my mother will make sure I swallowed 3 shredded dates daily for the blood of me. I say, no, can't you see? It's a chore to dig them out, tongue on teeth. And she says, no, you must, for the blood of you and the good of me. So go out now and get those dates before you need to always sleep, before the blood comes and you're always sleeping, so I don't ask you to do the laundry. I slide my silver self out of the garage and press my wheel to the road's shapeless ruts. The car body swivels and the car body creaks in symphony with the sound of me. I make the car move like a muscle of my pain. I make my mind mint a hero of me. Great deliverer of dates, bloody me. I park crooked at the Harris Teeter like a tossed craft ribbon and ride on in to the new rot on the produce stocks. The dates are in clear, circular ships atop expired sale signs. Deglet Noor, born neat like closed comb jellies. They sit in the dark of themselves, soon to meet the dark of me. I consider swallowing a whole box to hold me down for the week, iron upon iron striking flint to spark light in me. I buy them and the cashier prints a date coupon. We exchange a card and our hands don't touch. At home, I offer my mother the coupon, which he tells to keep because it would be prudent of me for the blood of me. I tape it on the dashboard of the car into the husk of a dead pill bug. Later in the bathroom mirror, I name my sharp teeth. Later in the kitchen dark, I introduce a fruit to the rapture of my plum brown mouth, counting down the dates. This next piece is Manifest My Throat as Tender. Imagine, I am older and Vasantha asks me who I want to love, and I clutch my heart like theater and say, everyone. Imagine Parvati when she caught Shiva's throat to stop the poison cold. It dyed his throat blue. It did not die there, like what may die with me. She asks me how many children I want. I say as many as I can love, a truth I hope unburdens her heart. My fear, a beast I pray false, dubs defiance rupture. I couldn't know what I would want, I couldn't know what she would want, what I do. So I ask a lover to hold my throat so hard it turns blue. This final piece is some of my newer work, separate from the collection, that should be expected out in Harvard Review this summer. This is called Passing. I mourn the street, its spine wearied by passing travelers pocketing their supple hands, eyes upturned from the unceremonious tufts of grass eddying around a jeweled heel, Italian maybe, while snaking up the worried stitch of an unkindred shoe, bearing a foot blistered by stone. Nature enters where it senses a soul and shies from the spectacled gaze of moneyed men who might fancy themselves flaneurs, eyeing the shining legs of passing women, as if the foot their heel protects is cloven, as if they're watching me to see whether I am woman enough when I walk. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Vasantha. That was excellent. So now we have just a couple minutes left for Q&A if anyone wants to drop anything in the chat. But I also wanted to invite both of our writers back on to be ready to answer some questions. Great. So, Ida, I wanted to start with a question for you. I loved the wide span of topical themes your poetry covered. Between poems you covered the Emerson College encampment for Palestine, AI, memes. Can you talk about drawing inspiration from the news and the internet and how you use that inspiration to tell stories about your life?
Yeah, great question. I don't know. I feel like I don't really think about myself as having a writing practice. I feel like I will spend so much, I don't know, I'll just be like living my life and then like months will go in between when I write a poem or not, which is probably bad writing advice. So don't take that seriously. But yeah, I don't know. I think yeah, a lot of the poems are obviously about how these events are inflected in my personal life. Um, I don't know. I kind of can't imagine about like writing any other way. I feel like for me, um, when I'm writing a poem, it's more so like I'm like asking a series of questions that are kind of left to be answered. I feel like it's not just like I'm describing something, but I'm making an argument out of questions rather than like a real thesis or anything. So I guess maybe I don't know if this is answering the question at all, kind of rambling a bit. But I guess yeah, I think poetry is just like another way to respond to political events, either directly in my personal life or in the world, um, in a way that maybe other kinds of writing or news can't do.
Hmm. I think that totally makes sense. I like to remind myself of the idea of poetry as a response and a reaction. I think people picture writers always like sitting quietly at their desks and working, but I think it's important to remember that it's a direct reaction to a world. So we just got one question for both of you from one of our attendees. So to both of you, how old were you when you started writing poetry, either seriously or not? How about Vasantha, you take it first?
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Samba, for the question. Honestly, I think as long as I can't remember a period of my life where I couldn't write, but I guess that makes sense because I probably couldn't also like form language into like a coherent way at that point either. I mean, just really young. I mean, I think I do remember like when I went back home a few years ago, like during a summer after college, I found a bunch of these like ripped out notebook pages of poems that I had written. And instead of keeping them in the same notebook, I guess I just ripped them out and kept them in all over the place. But I really liked rhyming poems, especially like poems about trees. And I was kind of surprised by the quality actually of some of them. But yeah, I think I didn't even think about it so much as like writing a poem. It just sort of it almost felt like I had like done these compulsive like pieces and they were just scattered everywhere. And then I was like, oh, if I collect them, then it seems like that's my first collection right there. Just kind of funny. Ido, what about you?
Um, yeah, I feel like similarly, ever since I was a kid, I said I wanted to be a writer. Yeah, I think even before I was actually writing things, I think I was like more preoccupied with like the idea of being a writer and artist than maybe I was like actually doing things because I felt like I was so in my head a lot. I wasn't like really producing that much stuff. But then when I got older, I feel like I was really only exposed to like fiction or like nonfiction, and poetry was kind of presented as like kind of outdated form. um, so I tried fiction writing, but I hated it. I just like I can't world build like that. So I think more seriously started writing when I was in college or even after college. I feel like I just like had a lot of anxiety, like performance anxiety. Um, and that kind of was a big roadblock, but I met other poets and started sharing work. And I feel like that process of sharing and the confidence of, um, yeah, that being a poet or a writer can look like so many different things, um, was like really freeing. So I feel like have really only been taking it more seriously like over the past few years, I would say.
Awesome. It's never too late to start, you know? And so question for Vasantha, from Sadia, how do you avoid overthinking poetry in the way you would an essay? Or do you overthink it? How much editing does your poetry go through from the first draft to what you share?
That is a really good question. I think in order to sort of keep myself sane, I can't think about writing poetry in the same way that I think about writing like an academic essay, for instance, because that's also a practice that I'm still trying to or fine for myself. I don't know. I think when I'm writing a poem, honestly, I mean, I know people that go through like 50 drafts of a poem, for instance, and I have to say I'm not that person. I just don't have the patience, and I'm kind of very perfectionistic in the process. Like I'm sort of like, if this doesn't come out the way that I want in the moment, then I mean, I'll probably just abandon it and then just like pivot to another image or another idea, or maybe I return to it later. But I have a very like spontaneous notes app kind of approach to writing poems that sort of just like begin with like one image or an idea, whether it's like I don't know of um like yeah, just like a memory of like being in like an office meeting with somebody or like having lice as a kid or something, and then it's just like from that something sort of like um emerges. And I think, I don't know, there's something about, I think poetry gives you a bit more permission than an essay would to sort of not pose a claim as such and to provide something that necessarily requires resolution. I think actually poetry is kind of very anti-resolution in that way. So I feel like more permission, just allowing myself to do the stream of consciousness sort of thing that isn't necessarily highly edited in the same way as like an academic piece. Um, and just kind of trusting that it captures at least like a germ of what I was trying to like what I was feeling when I was writing it, I guess.
Kind of off the heels of that answer, we have a question from Melinda, also addressed to both, who asks, how do you know when a moment of frustration or anger will make it into a poem? Does it click immediately in the moment it occurs or later on while you're writing and working through ideas? I'm thinking about the snapshot with the cops in Ida's poem and the conversation with the therapist in Vasantha's poem. So, how about Ida? You go first.
Yeah. Um, I feel like I usually don't know, um, yeah, if it's gonna make it into a poem. Um, like I mean, especially with that with the encampment poem, and sometime after I was reading a different poem, and then it just kind of like um, flowed out of me. Um, so no, I usually don't know. I think it's like in with a lot of retrospect that, at least for me, that like a poem comes into being. Um, yeah, there isn't really any way to know, for me at least.
And then same question to Vasantha.
Sorry, I was just kind of like reminding myself again of the question. Oh, okay. So when like, a moment of anger or in some way might make it into a poem.
Yes.
Um So like like my incident was about, just having like a very honestly racist white therapist for the first few years of my life. And I mean, in the moment, I didn't really process that this is what was happening. And now I'm honestly kind of grateful that she gave me material for a poem. And I have another offshoots of just like questions for my white therapist poems, but this is kind of the original and the favorite. But I think there is something to be said about, and I don't know if you feel this way, like sometimes something can feel too soon to be put into writing. Um, because it does take time to not only like feel what you're feeling in that moment, but then to have distance from that feeling and then see like, the ultimate task is how can you put language to that feeling? And sometimes it's not even about describing it, it's just about setting the stage for it or maybe intervening in your own way, like imagining what could have gone differently. And kind of allowing a different angle into that moment because that's also a kind of distance that you don't get if you just like write immediately after the moment. And I, for instance, am someone I can't like if I were to write right after something, like that happens, it would just really be like very factual. Like she said this happened, and it's all very like fragmentary. Like the sort of, I guess, the artfulness of it or the part of it that feels more meditative, I think just takes time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those answers. There's something very empowering as an artist to like take back the moment after you've done a lot of reflection and tell it from a different angle. So I love that perspective. We are getting a lot of questions, but we'll answer all the questions that have been asked and then we'll leave it there. So Clara said, thank you both for this. It is incredible to witness your craft. What advice do you have for aspiring and emerging writers? So do either of you have very salient piece of advice that you would like to share first? Tough one. How about we'll start with Vasantha?
Sure. Um, it's funny because I don't know. I've taught some creative writing classes to sort of people of all ages, like between like elementary school and also college. But I think there's almost something for me that feels, I don't want to say useless, but I feel like if I tell them advice, they'll just probably just nod and be like, okay. But then there's still this process that comes with the insecurity of writing and just getting used to like having a practice and like having an ear for like sound and rhythm and that sort of stuff. But I mean, I guess in that sense, my largest, most global advice is to just keep first of all keep reading like very widely, and your inspiration for poetry, writing in general doesn't necessarily have to come from the same genre. I'm a very big like cross genre, like genre isn't real kind of advocate. Like sometimes my inspiration for poems comes from just like a really beautiful movie that I watched or like music I've listened to or like fiction that I've read. um and don't like be open to how that might inspire you to sort of have a jumping off point to start something, even if you don't know where it's leading yet. And on that point, don't be too wedded to like an initial idea if it doesn't sort of pan out the way you expect, because that's also sort of the fun of the process. I think it's the writing always sort of takes like a form of its own. It's like a fun little like beast. So just kind of like have fun with that. And get what you want to get out of the writing, not what you think you should be sort of getting out of it. Yeah.
That's great advice. Ida, anything to add?
Yeah, I think I would say so. I think first of all, I'm kind of anti-MFA, even though, I know there's some MFAers in the room, and me and Vasantha have had this conversation, so it's not new to her. But I do think, especially in a city like Boston, there's actually a huge literary community, and finding where that was and joining it was a huge help. So, like, find your literary community. There was when I told you when I was saying earlier, it like took me a bit to like gain my confidence in my voice, in sharing work. There was like a whole year where I would just go to open mics and I like wouldn't read anything. I would just listen. I would go to the Cantab a lot, um, or just like other poetry readings. Um, and I think hearing work out loud also really helps with how you construct it on the page and like getting the meter and the rhythm and the sound. Um, so I would say, yeah, not only reading widely, but attend readings, find other writers who you can write with, and share work with. And yeah, I think that's what I would add.
Really good advice too. So we're gonna end with some more like rapid fire questions. So, last one from Saba to both of you again. What was the most recent thing that inspired you? It could be a piece of art, writing, a person, anything. So, first thing that comes to mind, we could start with Vasantha.
I'm actually thinking about something from a year ago. I went back to where my parents are from in Tamil Nadu in India after like 13 years, and I just saw like I went on the beach at night with a friend of my mother's, and we just saw like a fisherman casting his net into the sea at night. And that was just an image that I found really striking, and I it just sort of tied in so many things for me that this whole rhythm of life is kind of going on, like irrespective of whatever time it was in my own jet lagged body or sensibility. And also there's like a sense of time and just like rhythm happening here too. And it was also a trip where I was able to see like where my mother like grew up and went to school and stuff that I hadn't seen before. So I think it was just a nice, like I guess one of an inspiring moment, I guess, that was really nice to see. Um, yeah.
And what about you, Ida?
Um, I'm like kind of one of those people that's like feels like changed every day, which is maybe really cringe, but I feel like my perspective on things are always changing. Like very open. I don't know. So I don't know. It could even just be like, I don't know, the most recent thing. Oh, there was something today. Oh yeah, I don't know. I was like walking through a strip mall today. And yeah, sorry, sorry, I don't have a good answer to that question. I don't know. I think like similar to the question about like how do you know anger or frustration is gonna enter your poem. Um, I feel like you don't know when like the things that you're seeing or observing or experiencing are going to enter it. Yeah. So I mean like my poem, like the one about the cemetery, necromancing the commons, that was like kind of a revision of an earlier poem. And I just realized I was like cemeteries came up a lot in my imagery, and it's because like I kind of use them as parks, as like a green space. So yeah, I don't know. Inspiration is truly everywhere. I think it's just about like the perspective you bring to it. Sorry, it's like not a super
No,
personal answer.
we should all be so lucky as to be changed every day. That was my piece of inspiration. Um,
Agreed.
okay, and then we're gonna end last question, but there's three questions in it, so we're gonna do this rapid fire from Aaron. Hi to both of you. Three questions. One, do you have a ritual before you start to write? Two, a place or time of day when you prefer to write? And three, do you ever encounter being stuck while writing and what helps? So let's start with Vasantha. Happy to remind you of the questions.
Thank you so much. Okay. I'll do ritual. Ritual for writing. Um, Not exactly. I mean, I will say that I like to feel it's really a counterintuitive impulse. I either like to be like somewhere like if I'm in the airport, for instance, like waiting for a flight, I feel like very productive weirdly, or like on a bus or on the subway. I feel like I'm like, yeah, like I'm getting some poetry ideas now, but then also it happens to me at like I don't know, like 2 o'clock in the morning if I just like wake up and then I'm like I have to write it down unless I forget it. I don't know if that's so much a ritual. I guess it also folds in the time question, in that it's just really quite random for me. I think there's something either about like movement or the absence of it. I feel like unexpected times that really like are productive for me unexpectedly. I think sometimes when I sit down and I'm like, I'm gonna write, it doesn't really happen. So I think it's moments like that where it can be a nice surprise. I feel like there was another part of that question. Ritual,
It was
time.
ritual, place or time, and then we ended with, do you ever encounter being stuck while writing? And if so, what helps?
Yeah. Okay, being stuck with writing. Um, In that case, I usually switch to a different form of media. Honestly, like if I'm writing something, I mean, I like to, I haven't written fiction in a long time, but I used to really enjoy writing a lot more fiction. But even with a poem, if I feel like kind of stuck where I am in it, I mean, yeah, I do like turn to a song, for instance, that might help like inspire like a feeling that I'm trying to access, or I watch like like a scene of like a movie or something that reminded me that was like that I found very beautiful. Like I just kind of like take myself out of whatever genre I'm in at the moment, and I think that kind of helps me return to whatever I'm doing in a sort of refreshed way. Um, yeah.
All right. And now, Ida, rapid fire. Do you have a ritual before you start to write? Do you have a place or time of day when you prefer to write? And do you ever encounter being stuck while writing? And if so, what helps?
Yeah, I mean, if I do, if there are any consistencies in what I'm doing, I've yet to notice it. I feel like part of what I've been doing recently is trying to know the times where it's better for me to work than others. Yeah, so no rituals. Um, Sometimes classes are helpful. Like I do think sometimes workshops can be very generative, like writing on a prompt and just kind of like seeing where it takes you and not knowing. And then maybe you can look back on it and realize and you're like, oh, there's something here. I feel like Vasantha was saying that earlier is kind of like looking back at these different threads and seeing that there's like actually a theme emerging. I I'm like of the opinion that like the poem knows like before I do. You know, yeah, uh, no ritual. I do like definitely write on my notes app a lot. Yeah, there's a pattern, I'll be sure to report back.
And so no ritual, no time or place, but when you're writing, do you ever feel stuck? And if so, how do you get unstuck?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't have a good answer to this. I feel like I'm just like, yeah, I'm stuck. Um, and then I like let that poem simmer and like, maybe it dies, maybe I return to it. I don't know, like, I have poems that have and I don't know, your relationship to the poems changes too. I feel like there are poems that I have that I've written a while ago that I still keep in mind or like I return to them, even things that I thought were like nothing at the time. Um, yeah, I think it's okay. Like I think it's, you don't have to force it. Um, it doesn't have to be done. Um, yeah. Sorry if that, sorry, I'm like giving such bad advice because I think I also consider myself like an emerging writer. So I'm like, yeah, I'm like I'm soaking up the same advice you guys are.
I think that is super helpful for people to see that, people write and are in lots of different stages of their writing journey. So your perspective is definitely appreciated. Um, so that we are definitely over time. So I want to thank you to our readers, Ida and Vasantha, for those wonderful readings. And thank you to all who joined us and who asked questions and were active participants. Again, we have a full schedule of our upcoming events on our website. To learn more, you can head to writersroomofboston.org. Readings from the Room is a monthly series, so definitely join us for a future one. And good night, all, and thank you again, readers and listeners alike.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, and thank you, Lily and Ida. This was a lot of fun. This was great.
Thank you
Yep.
all.
Again.